some people have asked about what am I going to do with the inner circle, right? What am I going to do with the inner circle? Well, it's a different mindset, right? At the first level of the inner circle, the one I'm announcing now is like the founders group, which would be the first people in. The reason I'm doing it, the first group, I want people that are hypnotists, NLPers, and coaches, right? And then as I open it up later on, it'll be just for the general public, right? But so, like, what are we going to do in there, especially at that level, right? Well, once a month, first of all, at the end, for this inner circle, if you decide to join, right? You'll get whatever class I'm teaching that month, usually once a month, every 5 to 6 weeks. As you've noticed lately, I'm teaching some kind of class. Lately, it's been on Saturday for like 3 hours. So that'll be included in the inner circle. So you'll get that, whatever that class is, right? Whatever the class is. Like I said, the next one will be the controlling the food. The one after that is spiritual-based NLP marketing, right? Which will be different than what you expect, but it'll be like how to do this, right? And so that's the first thing. The second thing will be, there'll be at least one coaching call a month, right? Where we're going to work on certain things. And the first thing we're going to do, I did this, I take this serious. I actually have notes. People can note that, right? Is for the group, is I want you to think about an impossible goal. What's a goal that you'd like to achieve, but when you first think about it is impossible, right? And then, that goes with that, why do we fail, right? Because I want this group to eventually become coaches to do this stuff with other people, right? And what happens is when you're trying, let's say you have a goal, right? First of all, we're going to break down goals. I'm under the impression, I've gone backwards, that if you have more than 2 or 3 goals you're working on and they're not somehow interrelated, you're probably not going to accomplish very much, right? You're going to be chasing too many things, right? And your goals can be somewhat interrelated. You might want to build your business and you might want to do something physical to get in great shape. Well, you can relate those two, especially if you're a coach or something like that, or even an entrepreneur, right? If you're in great shape, that's going to help you be a better business person, right? So we're going to figure out, so what's some goals, right? And why don't people achieve their goals? Well, the biggest reason people don't achieve their goals, at least in my opinion, and I'm rethinking it because I experience this. Everything I teach is something I experience, right? Is we make our goals too small, right? What's the saying? The problem is you don't aim for the sun, right? The problem is you only reach for the treetops, and you might make that when you could reach for the sun, right? And so, right, and why do we do that, right? And again, this goes back to the idea that, especially if you come out of the Western educational system, right? The Western educational system, all the way through college and graduate school, was created for one thing and one thing only, and that's to make you a good worker for a corporation. Right? That's it. Right? And so if that's your goal, great. But unfortunately, if you're trying to make major breakthroughs, the educational system also kind of has you look at the world differently, right? And the way they have you look at the world is you look at your present, where you are right now, through your past. Right? So you look at your present through your past, right? And so if you want to set a goal, you'll set a goal based on your past, right? And so that makes you create goals that aren't very energetic. They aren't very, they got no juice to them, right? They got no juice, right? Because you'll go, well, I want to increase my business. Well, if you search your past, then you'll say, well, I want to increase my business by 50%, right? Okay, fine. That's somewhat exciting. It could be a little bit exciting, right? But is it massively exciting? Right? Right? Increasing by, making 50% more. Or what about if you could make your business 10 times bigger or 100 times bigger, right? Well, if you're searching through your past, that becomes an impossible goal, right? That becomes an impossible goal because again, you're going to look at the past and not create new opportunities for the future. Because right now, here's an exercise we could do, just real quick. If everyone right now would take a deep breath and think back to the before times, the great before times, 2018, right? Early 19, well, it actually happened the end of 19, whatever, pre-COVID, 2018, 19, right? When you think back to the you were then, that's 5-6 years ago, correct? Right? 5 or 6 years ago. Could you imagine your life today? What you're doing and how you're doing it. If this, if you could go back and talk to yourself in 2018, would you be able to picture what you're doing now? How business has changed because the world changed. Correct? Right? And it could be much bigger, it could be a little bit worse, but it's still, it's because again, go back in your past, the past you is hard for you to picture who you are today, right? And so again, it's gonna, if you're doing this kind of thinking about it, you could increase your business, a little bit just by doing more of what you're doing harder, right? And you will burn out. That's what happens. It's like, do I want, oh, good God, So, so what begins to, and when you think about an example would be, Blockbuster Video versus Netflix, right? Blockbuster Video was a Fortune, I don't know, 100 or 10 company when at its heyday. It was huge, right? Many of us in the call can remember Blockbuster Video. There was one on every corner. They bought up all the mom and pop stores in the world, right? That they could possibly get, right? It was huge, right? But it was a traditional company, right? And so they wanted to keep growing. They were looking at the past. So then what they decided to do, they were going to increase more stores. Let's build more stores. Let's buy more mom and pop DVD places, right? Because that's the future, right? Well, Netflix was over here going, right? Well, we're going to do this streaming service, right? Where we don't need stores, right? We don't need stores. And think of all you business people, and if you've had a practice, just think of the overhead of a brick and mortar place, right? Rent, utilities, decentralized staff, so you got employees all over, right? So even if Netflix, would make less per, whatever it happened to be, they didn't have all this stuff, right? It didn't help them get to where they want to go, right? So Netflix, and I've heard different rumors on what the price was. Netflix had offered to sell to Blockbuster for whatever it was, 10 million or 20 million, whatever it was at the time, because they were still kind of in startup mode. Well, the guy that was running Netflix goes, no, this is stupid. We're just going to open more stores. Because that's what worked. And also, they were making a lot of their money from late fees and people from late fees. They didn't want to give up their late fees. Right? And in a streaming service, there's no late fee. You stream it once or you stream it whatever the time frame is. And the guy couldn't wrap his head around like, well, no, I'm going to be losing 15% of my income because we're not going to get late fees. Right? And now, of course, Netflix is a Fortune, whatever it is, 100 company, and Blockbuster is no more, right? we're seeing it in different things. You know, when Amazon got launched, right? People looking now go, I wonder why, like Sears, which when Amazon was still taking off, this goes back in the 90s. Sears was still the largest retailer in the country, if not, you know, part of, at least here, right? Walmart hadn't overtaken them yet, they were about to. So there's Sears. They could have created this, right? They could have duplicated what Amazon was starting, right? And again, the people from Sears went, yeah, but you know, we have all this space, you know, in these malls. Malls are never going to go away. Anybody here see a dead mall near you? Is there a dead mall near you? Right? That's 3/4 dead because even the kids don't go anymore, right? And so again, it's that idea of looking from the past, right? Which is what we're trained to do in Western education. So the hard part is to see yourself from your future, right? Right? And not worry so much about the past, but the future. If you see yourself from the future, right? And if you went out 5 years, kind of like duplicate what happened, what's the world going to be like 5 years now? We don't know. But what if you could imagine yourself, whatever it is you want to do in 5 years, looking back on today, right? And there'll be a whole group of people that, much like how COVID made a lot of stuff disappear. Does anyone as you're listening to this, think maybe AI will make a whole bunch of people disappear? You know, you're not going to need copywriters, right? You're not going to need certain things, right? There'll be the people, just like when COVID hit, some of us did pretty well because we were already online, knowing how to do certain things. You know, it impacted us, but not as bad as other people, right? So we have no idea, right? And so if you can picture yourself from the future, right, it changes your present, right? And then what begins to happen, the biggest thing that happens if you do this, and this is why people don't do it. You know, if you look at yourself from the future you, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to wake up to the fact it's not just the things I have to add to get here, right? Whatever the skills are, like maybe how to use artificial intelligence, whatever it is. There's skills you're going to have to add, but more importantly, there's people, places, and things you're probably going to have to delete from your life. Right? They're robbing you of the energy, right? Because just from now, as you are today, you can look back 5 years ago and think of all the people that aren't in your life anymore. And maybe some of them you got rid of because you finally woke up that they weren't serving who you wanted to be. You know? And again, all this stuff to me comes from the addiction world, right? You know, you have to let go of, you know, it's big in the addiction world of people, places, and things, right? You have to let go of how it's going to happen. If you just do certain things, you know, the how will take care of itself. And so what we're going to do in the inner circle is, you know, work on these things and create and that's overused, but it's true, like a community that will support this, right? A community that will support it. And the one rule I know I'm going to have is you will agree that if you downplay, disregard, disrespect someone else's dreams and ambitions, you're banished from the group. Because everybody here wants something different. Who knows? You know, I got a friend that's an accountant, or casual friend that's an accountant. He loves it. To him, that shit's exciting. I'd eat my 9mm if that's, you know, but him doing tax and the tax changes, you know, it's like, you know, he talks about that like I probably talk about, you know, an NLP technique or an acting gig. It lights him up. right? And so, that's part of what the community is people that will support this, and maybe help point out like some of the things you have to do, right? So what's an impossible goal or two you want to do, right? Because and then when you take this orientation, it's a future orientation, it flips you to look at your past differently. Because the first thing you do is only look at, you look at what you can truly use from your past. The NLP technique I do is where you go back and you see the successes from your past, you take away the negative feelings. It's a future orientation so when you think to your past, the only thing you think of is the successes that you had, right? And a lot of the successes that you had, you probably couldn't have described all the steps it was going to take to get there, right? And this kind of thinking goes against a lot of the world. No. It's like the old, first you got to develop the business plan, a 5-year business plan, right? Anybody ever hear that kind of shit? You need a 5-year business plan, right? Okay, would your business plan from 2019 work? Mine was, I was going to open a brick and mortar practice again. I was buying into an alcohol and drug treatment center. That it was a great plan. The goddamn world got in the way, right? And kind of like, well, I spent all that. What did I spend? Like 20 grand in ads for the brick and mortar business. I was getting ready to do the other thing, and all that just went. March 2020. Right? I was starting the brick and mortar business. I was going to do this and that. That's the only way I could describe it. It was gone. Right? So the plan didn't quite work out. Right? And again, who wants a 5-year business plan? A bank, right? Because they're run by MBAs. Right? And if you ever want to lose money, hire an MBA to help you build your business, right? Rather than, get an entrepreneur, right? So anyway, so that's kind of the stuff we're going to do, right? And what I'm going to do with the inner circle, I think, is this. It's going to be, monthly or yearly. So yearly, it's going to be 240. You got to use these weird numbers, right? $247 for the year, or 97, or it's going to be 57 a month, right? And then once I get out of the founders level after about 6 or so months, then it'll only be 97 a month for every, right? I rethought it. Some people have asked, because I put it out there and people keep emailing me asking me questions, and I've been slow on answering all the questions because I'm working out how to do all this stuff. And it'll be a private Facebook group, and then videos, and once a month will be like a group conference call. And where you'll be held accountable for, So a lot of people will self-select out of the program. As my friends that went through Navy SEAL training, they'll ring the bell on their own. You don't have to drive them away. They'll ring the bell, right? Because they don't want to be held accountable, right? So that, just a little bit about that. Let me stop the recording.